Hi church, welcome to week 2, day 2 of our Lent Reflections. And today we're going to read from John chapter 8 verses 12 to 20. So I'd like you to pause this video, get your Bibles out and read this passage from John 8 verse 12 to verse 20. So this passage is entitled Disputes over Jesus' Testimony. Jesus says, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." Now this was like waving a red rag to a bull. It was a provocative statement. Why? Well, the rabbis knew that light is the name of the Messiah. And Tom Wright tells us that the idea of God calling someone to be the means of bringing light to the world is rooted in ancient Judaism. It's written in Daniel 2 verse 22. He reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what lies in darkness, and light dwells with him. The Messiah was expected to be a light for revelation to the Gentiles and the glory of your people Israel. Luke 2. And so the Messiah would be the light of the world, not just of the Jews. The claim to be the world's true light, like so much that Jesus says in this gospel, is not in itself a claim to be divine, though John believes that and wants us to believe it too. It's a claim to be Israel's Messiah. Throughout the gospel, it's clear Jesus hasn't come to judge the world or Israel, but to bring rescue, salvation, life and hope. And this would, of course, have the effect of condemning those who didn't want any of those things. We think of the light as good news, but for some, they would rather live in darkness. Israel was supposed to be the light of the world, to be set apart from the nations around them, to be holy. Yet they seemed to have forgotten this. And not just that, but they had seemed to have forgotten who their God really was. Then enters Jesus, claiming to be the light of the world and shining into that darkness, claiming to be the Son of God. But because they'd forgotten who their God was, they didn't recognise Jesus as having come from this one true God. This is what caused the hostility. Jesus knows who he is, and he isn't shy to tell them. And the Pharisees, full of hostility, respond to Jesus, not focusing on what he said, but on the fact that he said it. They argue technicality, protesting that his claims aren't valid because he makes them himself with no corroboration. I was thinking, how would this stand up in a British court of law? Imagine I was standing in court giving a witness statement. Now, it's difficult to come to a judgment when it's one word against another. I know this, but I simply respond to the judge and jury, "Well, I am who I say I am." In fact, before I gave evidence, I swore on the Bible that I would tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. So as I'm sure you've heard many say, as God is my witness, I am who I say I am. Now the Pharisees argue that there must be 2 witnesses according to their law. And in the Mishnah, which is the study book of Jewish law, self-testimony is inadmissible. According to the Torah, you need the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses in capital cases. And you can check that out in Deuteronomy 17:6 and 19:15. Jesus knows the law and so answers their question. In your own law, it is written that the testimony of 2 witnesses is true. I am one who testifies for myself. My other witness is the Father who sent me. Jesus insists that his self-testimony is valid because of his relationship with his Father. Jesus is unique when it comes to speaking for himself because only he truly knows and has seen the Father, and only he can show us the Father. His close relationship with the Father makes his words trustworthy, and no one has the authority to question them. In John 14, Jesus, in response to the disciples, answers, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you really know me, you will know my Father as well." When you know Jesus, you know the Father. Jesus is God clothed in flesh. He is both human and divine. This was hard for the Pharisees to understand or accept. It can be hard for people of all generations to understand and accept. But this is why the Pharisees were so outraged by Jesus' claims. In this passage, Jesus calls himself the light of the world. He brings truth and light to a world full of sin and darkness. He models how we are called to live. And when we trust him, follow what he teaches, and try to be loving and holy like him, his light shines through us. That's why he tells us, "You are the light of the world. Let your light shine before others, so they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven." So, here's a thought to reflect on today. Are you walking in the light? Perhaps today you could spend some time allowing Jesus' light to shine on those places in your heart that you have kept concealed. I would urge you to spend time confessing those things to God and asking for his light to shine. His light brings life, it brings health, new growth and hope. And are you bringing light into the lives of others? Do people recognise God in you? Do they see something different that makes you stand out? Could you have a conversation with someone today who may feel in a dark place? Could you share the good news, the light of the world with them? Could you shine light into their darkness?